Hi, welcome back to our channel. Well, today's topic is Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City. Now, if you guys have invested with Asia Bankers Club many years ago into Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, well, congratulations. I'm sure you know that you have made a good decision. You have made a lot of returns, right? Capital gain has been 2 to 3, 4 times even. Some of our clients, my friends, have exited the investments. They have made huge capital gain. Now, for those of you who are still holding on to the stocks, you're probably wondering what you should be doing next. Should you continue to hold on to the units or should you be selling them now? Well, today's I'm going to be sharing with you some updates on what I see that's coming in Ho Chi Minh City and whether you should be holding to it or selling it. Now, for some of you who have not invested and thinking about investing in Ho Chi Minh City, but of course you know that the price has gone up a lot. Now, is there, should you be investing here, or are there some places you can now consider, as a better options? Yes, of course there is, and here, hence today's presentation. Apart from giving you an update on the market, I would like to share with you also a new project by CapitaLand Development, which is of course a top developer from Singapore. Okay, now this is a Temasek owned developer, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Singapore. Now the project that I'm going to basically showcase today is called Sycamore. It's actually in the new city of Binh Duong, which is now part of Ho Chi Minh City. So this location is amazing. It's an upcoming area. This is like the new Silicon Valley. This is like the Shenzhen of Vietnam. All right. So it's a huge master plan development in the new city. And in this project, we have a few options for you guys. So you can be choosing to invest into the orchard, which are basically villas, prices around 700,000 and above US dollar. Or you can be investing into some really amazing mansion called the Orchard Mansion, which is of course still part of Sycamore. And the prices here are from 2 to 3 million US dollar. Amazing, huge mansion. All right, so we can actually own this as foreigners as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about Orchard Collection as well. So these are the most high-end luxury apartments or condominium in the project, overlooking a park, and we have some lake views as well. We have amazing facilities, a total of 168 facilities. This is by far the project with the most facilities of CapitaLand in Vietnam. All right, so stay tuned. So this presentation is about this project. Okay, now what is most amazing is the payment plan. All right, the payment plan is starting from 5% down payment, and then there's no other payment until 1 year later for another 5%, and then you pay progressively very slowly up to 30%, and then the final payment of like 65 to 70% will be at handover, which is going to be in Q1 of 2029. And of course, in the middle of that, you can resell the property as well. Okay, the starting price is just 300,000 US dollar or 2.5 million Hong Kong dollar. It's an amazing deal. You would like to, I urge you to stay tuned, okay, hear out this whole presentation because it's going to be really, really insightful, and I hope you find it useful. All right. Anyway, before I begin, let me quickly introduce myself and our company. So my name is Kingston. I'm the founder and CEO of Asia Bankers Club. Now, a bit about myself. I'm a Malaysian, all right? So I now live in Hong Kong for more than 20 years now. I used to be an investment banker at Morgan Stanley. Spent about 13, 14 years in investment banking, in structured product derivatives. And then I quit my job in 2012 and to basically, start this group of real estate companies here, including Asia Bankers Club. And the good news is last year we brought in a very strategic big investor, which is Blackspear Capital, and that's the family office of Mr. Lawrence Ho. Mr. Ho, of course, is very well known in Asia. He's the owner of the Melco Resorts, the casino in Macau. Now, with Lawrence Ho's family office supporting our platform, I hope that it gives you our members, our clients, assurance of the how professional we are in what we do. All right, so this is who we are. Okay, now our company has ventured into Vietnam since 2016, right after the market opened up to the foreigner in 2015, because prior to the housing law Sycamore in 2015, foreigners were not able to invest directly into Vietnam. And when the market opened in 2015, we quickly came into the market in 2016. And that's the reason why I was telling you at the beginning just now about our happy clients who have invested so many units through us, whether in Ho Chi Minh City, in Hanoi, in Hai Phong, in Da Nang. So throughout Vietnam, of course, a lot of these with CapitaLand Vietnam, and you guys have done so well. Thank you so much for trusting us back then, many years ago. And of course, our company, being there in Vietnam market since 2016, we have represented a lot of big developers, pretty much everybody in Vietnam. And we kind of, in a way, control, pretty much monopolize the foreign quota, because the foreign quota for most projects, it will be no more than 30% that can actually be sold to foreigners, and we will kind of controlling the foreign quota because we will basically selling this all over the world. Okay. Now, we have done a lot of big launches in Hong Kong, in many places. This is how we've done it in the past. Now, of course, now with this channel, I'm hoping that we can reach out to a wider audience, people from all over the world, because, Vietnam, it's a place that is going to be amazing. This is a place that you should really invest in. Now, I hope you stay tuned and hear me out, because just believe me, you will find this presentation useful and really to have an idea of what Vietnam has to offer, right? Now, our clients, like I said, we came in around 2016 with our very first project with CapitaLand, and then our investors were buying back then, okay, when the price was around $1,008 per square meter, and today it's gone crazy. Prices are already more than 10,000, and now there are projects in Ho Chi Minh City talking about 40 to even $80,000 per square meter to be launched. All right, not here yet, but I can see that, of course, developers are launching much more high-end projects nowadays. But anyway, so that makes our clients really happy, because that push up their prices. But despite, amidst all these, craziness in the market, there are still pockets of deals where I see, really attractive. And of course, the project today, Sycamore, and of course, Orchard Collection, which is part of Sycamore, it's basically one of those that I would highly recommend to our client, because the price per square meter is where the Ho Chi Minh City District 2 prices were back 10 years ago, okay? So it's really, really attractive. So anyway, today's presentation will be into these three parts. I will guide you so you understand a bit more about Vietnam. And then we're going to talk about Binh Duong, which is a really interesting location. This is the Silicon Valley of Vietnam. This is the Shenzhen of Vietnam. This is, I would say, the key place where all the factories are now aiming to come. All right, so this is a very exciting place. And then finally, we're going to talk about the project, okay, which is Orchard Collection. Now, a bit about Vietnam, population-wise, is more than 100 million, so it's about 102 million today. There are three cities that you really need to know. Number one is definitely Hanoi. Hanoi is the capital city, which is kind of like Beijing, all right? Now, Ho Chi Minh City is like Shanghai, it's a commercial city. People know it, Ho Chi Minh City. The former name was Saigon. Now, of course, it's Ho Chi Minh City. And central Vietnam here, we have Da Nang, all right? A lot of people come here, tourism, for the beautiful beach, the seafood. Of course, they have their industrial parks as well. So these are the three important places, okay? Now, Vietnam has done very well in Southeast Asia. If you look at just last year in 2025, Vietnam has the highest GDP growth for the whole of Southeast Asia. It was at 8%. And it wasn't just, a case of just that 1 year they got lucky with an 8% GDP growth. It is not. Over the last few years, they've done very well. The only time they were affected badly was during COVID in 2020 and 2021. But apart from that, they have consistently been above 7%. Now, I was just in Vietnam last week. I know I managed to meet a lot of my old friends and caught up with them and to get an idea what's really happening. Somebody was sharing with me about what the government is trying to do now. Unofficially, they're talking about GDP growth target for this year, 2026, to be above 10%. Now they're even aiming at 12%. I honestly, I'm not sure whether that's achievable, but it's very, very ambitious. But I think, to be able to do 8% should not be too much of a problem if they are aiming for 12%. All right. Now, trade war, of course, has been, the biggest thing in the world today. Everybody is like worried about that on top of the real war, okay? But anyway, the trade war, Vietnam, from the very beginning of it, when trade war started, they have been winning trade war because a lot of factories from China and everywhere, even in the US, they have moved over to Vietnam, because from Vietnam, if the products are manufactured in Vietnam and you have that made in Vietnam label and you export that to either, let's say to the US, then you don't really have to pay the high tariffs, all right? Now, so what's happening with the tariffs now, between US and Vietnam? Well, the good news is, well, there's not good news, there's still tariff, but the good news is it's 20%, okay? This is amazing, because if you look at it, when President Trump, recently of 2 years ago announced, new tariffs, right? It was actually pretty scary. I mean, it was like more than 40%, 50% for many countries, right? When it was first proposed to Vietnam, it was 46%. But then, of course, Vietnamese government did very well. They sent their delegates to the US, negotiated, and now they managed to bring it down to 20%, in line with even Taiwan. So that's why, Vietnam is still winning the trade war. Still, many factories are still coming here. You can look at the data, the statistics, the FDIs, the foreign direct investments. They are still here in Vietnam, and it's growing. Now, Vietnam, of course, is famous for electronic manufacturing. If you look at all the countries in Southeast Asia, each of them specialize in one area. Like in the case of Thailand, of course, it's automobile manufacturing. In the case of Cambodia, there's textile manufacturing. And in here, Vietnam, it is electronic manufacturing. Of course, the leader is Samsung. Now, Samsung is like the biggest employer here. They have been here for more than 30 years. That's why we have so many Koreans in Vietnam. They are by far the biggest expat community in Vietnam, okay? Now, Samsung alone, of course, is not the only company. Samsung brought a lot of these, there are other suppliers to be there as well together with them. And then, of course, you have other big firms like LG, Intel, Foxconn, everybody is there, okay? Now, if you look at some of these companies, what they're doing, like Google is here in Vietnam, making the high-end phones. They make the announcement in January of 2026 this year. Intel already invested in Vietnam since many years ago. Now they announced that they're going to continue to increase their investments in Vietnam. And Apple then announced that they're going to shift 40% of their MacBook production to Vietnam. And then now they're going to actually build even their new smart home devices in Vietnam. So it's all coming here. All these factories are here. Foxconn is here. Lego just opened a big factory, 1.3 billion US dollar. That's in Binh Duong, the one that I told you about, the new Silicon Valley of Vietnam. So Lego is here. So this is all really, really recent. Now the Taiwan Cooler Master is here with $3 billion investments. LG has the AI data center. So all these are coming. This is, what we call the China Plus One strategy. In case you are wondering what it means, basically it means China exporting a lot of the half-finished products, right? The semiconductor, the chips to Vietnam, and let Vietnam assemble the products and then ship it to other countries and paying lower tariffs, right? This is what's going on. That's why it's called the China Plus One strategy. This is really, really powerful, right? Now, there's also data here talking about, the GDP of Vietnam will surpass Singapore by 2029. Of course, in Southeast Asia, we know Singapore is always been the leader, driving the whole, Southeast Asia, the economic growth. But that is going to be overtaken by Vietnam in just the next few years. So that's why we have to really keep an eye on what's happening here in Vietnam. Now, in Vietnam, there are a lot of wealthy people, ultra wealthy people, like ultra high net worth. This population is growing the fourth fastest in the world. It started with Mr. Pham, the first US dollar billionaire in Vietnam. He is the owner of Vin Group. Today, he's worth almost 30 billion US dollar, right? So if you go to Vietnam and you see any of these companies with the word Vin in front of it, that's all part of Vin Group. Like for example, you have VinFast, which is the car maker, Vin Homes, the property developer, Vinpearl, it's a hotel, Vinmec, medical, Vin School. Like there's so many of them, right? So this is the richest person in Vietnam today. And well, happy to also inform you that our investor, Black Spade Capital, which is the family office of Mr. Lawrence Ho, they were actually involved with VinFast, which is part of Vin Group. They actually did the third largest de-SPAC transaction in the history of US back in 2023. It was a 23 billion US dollar transaction. So amazing deal. And then really happy that our group, since we're part of the Black Spade Capital family office, to actually be part of this amazing, de-SPAC of VinFast in the US on NASDAQ. Okay. Now, there are actually a lot of other billionaires in Vietnam today, not just Mr. Pham. There's so many coming, right? There's a full list of them. If you are a private banker, you should really be looking at Vietnam to find your next client, okay? But what we actually care the most as an investor in real estate, it's not about the billionaire. Because when you buy an apartment here, you buy a villa here, when you need to exit in the future, in 5 years, in 10 years, it is not to the billionaire. I mean, of course, you can be buying a huge penthouse or something, right, and exit to a billionaire. But here, we're not talking about that. We are talking about the middle income class. The apartments that you're buying for 300,000 US dollar, it is targeting the middle income class, and this group is growing rapidly. So maybe not everybody now today can afford that money. So that's why we come in, because most of you could afford it. And then when time comes, when they can afford it, they will pick it up from you at a much higher prices. And this income class, middle income class, is growing rapidly. Today, 44% of Vietnamese are considered middle income class. It's amazing. The rate of growth has been exponential. So this is the one we should keep an eye on. Now today, when we compare Vietnam and China, I have just like a short sentence for it, very easy to conclude. Basically, Vietnam is China 20 years ago. So if you have watched how China grown, you've seen how through being a manufacturing hub, factories, right? There was the China story 20 years ago. Now that same story is now repeated in Vietnam, all right, with 100 million population. So if you have missed the boat in China, this is the next area that you should be investing in, Vietnam. So that's why all these big firms have been eyeing Vietnam, and this is all pretty recent. Started with McDonald's. McDonald's in 2013 opened their first store in Vietnam. Today they have 39 stores. And I still remember back in 2013 when they opened their first store in Hanoi, people were queuing outside the store and they treat McDonald's as fine dining restaurant. Can you imagine that, all right? So this is, how early stage we are. And this is what gets me so excited about Vietnam. Now we have Zara opening the first store in 2013. Now they have total of 39 stores. We have H&M in 2017, Muji in 2020. Li Ka-shing, our billionaire from Hong Kong, opened Watsons in Vietnam in 2020, today with 19 stores. And then, of course, they brought the FWD insurance to Vietnam as well, because a lot of Vietnamese are, in fact, today underinsured. So there's a huge market here for insurance products. So everybody is aiming at the middle income class, all right? That's the story. So for us as an investors in real estate, we should be targeting the middle income class, all right? Now here, this is how Ho Chi Minh City looks like, okay? So I'm going to show you basically, this is District 1 here. This is Saigon, okay, District 1. So this is Bitexco Tower. Over this side is District 4. It's kind of like a triangle island. On far left is actually District 7, where Phu Minh Hong is. It's a very reputable Taiwan developer that built a huge community in District 7. Towards here, this is Landmark 81. Now today is the tallest building in Ho Chi Minh City. This area is called Bintan, sorry. And then over here is District 2 across the river Saigon. This is the new CBD, also known as Tu Tim, all right? So it's not really that difficult to understand Ho Chi Minh City. This is the Bitexco Tower, which looks a bit like the Tony Stark building, right, in Iron Man, okay? So this is, it looks really similar to me, okay? We had a helicopter pad over here. When you look at the architecture of the buildings in Saigon, there's a lot of French influence, right? Because they were once a French colony here. So we have the People's Community Building, which is known as City Hall as well. That's where the government official works. This is all in District 1. Saigon Center, one of the most biggest shopping center with Takashimaya. Landmark 81, the tallest building. This is built by the Vin Homes, the Vin Group. Okay, this is like the project, with like 10,000 apartments, okay, and the tallest building here, Landmark 81, all right? So hopefully that few pictures give you an idea how Ho Chi Minh City looks like today. Now, if you look at the prices of District 1, right? So when back in 2016, this is where we were when we were selling, okay? Now, let's say around 3,000 to 4,000, okay, US dollar per square meter. Today, it's already above 10,000 US dollar per square meter. Now, I was telling you about some crazy projects that's coming into the market. Yes, they have been rumored to be at like 30, 40,000 per square meter. And then way above that, even 80 as well. Okay, there's a project by Masterized Homes. It's probably going to be called Ritz-Carlton Residences, which is just right in front of Bentan Market. Now, the rumor price is 80,000 per square meter. Yeah, that shocked me as well. I'm not sure whether this is how that's going to work, but I heard that it's selling really well. They collected a lot of VIP checks, all right? I mean checks from VIPs. So anyway, so this is the Ho Chi Minh City market today. But what we are focusing on is not really here. We're looking at Binh Duong, all right? So the project that I'm going to introduce to you later is in Binh Duong. This is also Ho Chi Minh City. This is actually the Silicon Valley of Vietnam, all right? So Binh Duong is here. And the price is just around 3,000 or even less per square meter. So it's really a fraction of what we see today in Ho Chi Minh City. Now, the rental yield is still attractive. Let's say 6 to 7% is highly achievable in Binh Duong. Whereas in Ho Chi Minh City, we're talking about more like 4 to 4.5% perhaps, okay? And the reason why real estate excites people and why we should be looking at real estate in Vietnam is because most people, most Vietnamese, even the local people, actually invest their money into real estate. They don't really invest too much into stock market because if you look at this is the liquidity of the stock market in different places, right? In different countries. Vietnam has one of the lowest liquidity for stock market. That's why people can't really trust the stock market to put a lot of investment in there. So they basically then look at properties, okay? So like that's why you see scenes like these where real estate developer launching projects and they get all sold out in just one day or even sometimes in hours. So this is really what's happening in Vietnam today. People are just chasing after all these real estate deals, okay? Now the currency, let's say Vietnam dong versus Hong Kong dollar, which is pegged to the US, it's pretty stable. Okay, I mean, because overall, I mean, these currency, I know they have to be stable because the government needs to make sure that they are competitive when it comes to exports. So that's how it has been, right? But you have to understand for sure that when you invest in Vietnam, you are investing in a Vietnamese dong properties, all right? That's given, right? So you have to understand that. Anyway, now let's come to the housing law. This is where things get really exciting. If you guys have not, invested in Vietnam today before, this is something that you really need to know. Or even if you guys have invested in Vietnam and you think that you know all this, well, I think you should hear this out because there are some updates as well. Okay. Now, first of all, before 2015, foreigners were not allowed to invest in Vietnam. Okay, so people were actually using other ways to invest in Vietnam. For example, they will sign long-term lease, which is not really signing SPA. You're not going to get the pink book or the title deed, but you're kind of doing a long lease of 50 years with the developer. You trust the developer. That was the old way of doing it. Or maybe you marry a Vietnamese. That was the old way. All right, now you don't have to marry anyone, okay? You can just buy it as a foreigner, easy, okay? So the way it works is simple. There is a foreign quota concept, all right? The foreign quota is 30%. Let me just turn off these slides so you can focus on me, okay? So let me tell you how that works, all right? This is quite important, so I really want you to really understand this, okay? Now, foreign quota is 30% for condominium, and it is 10% for villa, okay? Now for condominium, how does that work, okay? Assuming you have a condominium building with 100 units, okay? Now collectively, us all as foreigners, we can buy up to 30 units because the quota is 30%, okay? And the 30 units that we buy can be the biggest 30 units because they do not care about the size of the apartments. They just count the number of units in each building, not the entire project. On every building, no more than 30% to foreigners. That's how it works, okay? Now, when you buy one unit as a foreigner, you are not getting the freehold title because the law does not allow us to get the freehold title. So what do we get? We get basically 50-year leasehold and renewable at least one time because the housing law has stated one-time approval is guaranteed. After the one time, it can maybe be renewed, but they did not guarantee that. So you have at least 100 years, right? Now the question is this: what happens when you resell in the future? Okay, let's say you bought the property and 10 years later, you decided to resell to somebody, okay? Now, if you resell to another foreigner, the foreigner will inherit the property for the remaining 90 years, right? Now, that's how it's gonna work, okay? But if you resell to a local Vietnamese, that unit will immediately be converted into freehold title to the local Vietnamese, okay? Now, when the local Vietnamese holding the unit, they cannot no longer sell to another foreigner. They can only resell to another Vietnamese as a freehold property, right? So when you hear this, now you understand the way it works in Vietnam is, us as foreigners, when we enter Vietnam to buy property, we basically have to buy first-hand property from developer, or you buy a resale property from a foreigner who bought it from a developer and holding the foreign quota. That's how it works, all right? So this is the law. Now, if you are buying villas, landed property, yes, you can, but no more than 10% of the project, like number of units, can be sold to foreigner. No more than 10% for each project, and also subject to no more than 250 houses in each ward can be sold to foreigners. So they don't really just look at the project itself, but the ward, like the district, okay? It's not a district, it's a ward, like a region, all right? That in that area. So no more than 250 can be sold to foreigners. That is how it works in Vietnam, all right? So this is very important, okay? Now, let me go back to the slide now, okay? Now, this is, I have explained foreign quota. I've explained the 50-year leasehold. Now, this is the third one I need to talk about, okay? Vietnam entry proof, okay? You need to prove that you can enter Vietnam before you can buy property in Vietnam. So that's also another very important rules, all right? So how do you prove that you can enter Vietnam? Well, you have to basically fly into Vietnam at some point, get a stamp on your passport so that you can show to the developer that you have the entry stamp on the passport. That's how you prove that you can buy property in Vietnam. Now, we've sold thousands of units of Vietnamese properties to foreigners. We've never encountered not even a single case of our client not able to get an entry approved into Vietnam. So I don't think this is something that you should be worried about unless you are a FBI wanted person, all right? Then I think that's going to be a different story, okay? Now, opening a bank account in Vietnam is also required, all right? So this is the slide that talk about the 30% foreign quota. So this is, quite straightforward. And by the way, if you guys want a copy of this presentation, let us know. We can actually send you the deck. You can study this by yourself as well, okay? Now, the way it works, Vietnamese selling to Vietnamese, okay. Foreigners selling to Vietnamese or foreigners, yes, that's okay, all right? So that's how it works. Now, I'm sure you'll probably be thinking like, hey, if that's the case, then will us as foreigner, when we buy property in Vietnam, do we pay the same price as the local Vietnamese, right? You'll probably be wondering. Well, the answer is yes and no, okay? Yes, because most developers, to be honest, they actually do put a premium on the stocks for foreigners. The price that they sell the foreign quota is slightly higher than the local stocks. And why? Well, very simple, because it's more valuable, right? Because when you buy this under the foreign quota, you can sell to local Vietnamese and foreigner, right? But if you buy as a local Vietnamese, you can't sell to foreigner. So that limits, your audience of buyers, right? So that's why the foreign quota is more valuable. It will be priced higher. But how much? It really depends on the project, how hot it is. It depends on that developer as well. I've seen project with 5% premium, 10% premium, even 15% premium. It can be anywhere really, okay? Now, of course, there will be project where it is zero premium because maybe the project is not doing well. It does not sell. No foreigners even want it. That's why they can't even charge a premium. So that's I guess, it's demand and supply, right? So that's the situation, that you need to understand how it works in Vietnam, okay? Now here, the pink book, right? Pink book is also really important. This is the title deed of the property. Now, when you buy property anywhere in the world, you want to get the title deed. And in Vietnam, it's called the pink book, right? Now, when the property is completed and handed over to you, you are not going to get the pink book right away. You're going to wait, all right? But the law states that while you're waiting for the pink book to be delivered to you, you will not pay the balance 5% to the developer until you get the pink book. That is your legal right, all right? Now, without the pink book, you can still resell the property. The property is still legally yours, all right? But it just takes time to get the pink book from the Vietnamese authority, okay? So that's how it works in Vietnam, okay? Now, the Vietnam bank account is important. You need to open a bank account, okay? Now, to open a bank account, you can do it from overseas. You don't really have to fly into Vietnam. We have partners, banks that we work with, international banks in Vietnam that can assist you to open the bank account from overseas, all right? That can be done. And then you make sure that the funds are channeled through your local Vietnam bank account before you pay to the developer, because this is a very important step. Without that, when you resell the property, the money you would not be able to repatriate the money back outside to your home country, all right? So always remember to open a bank account, okay? Proof of entry to Vietnam is required. Okay, I already talked about that. And then the other question is, do you buy under your personal name or you buy under a company's name? So we always ask our client to buy under personal name, because when you buy as an individual, you can rent out the property, all right? You can extend the lease after 50 years. But if you buy under a company, you can't rent it out and you cannot extend after 50 years. Why do they treat company differently? Because the idea is simple. The government says, if you are a company buying property, then most likely you're buying this for your employees to use, right? Maybe you have a factory here, you need to buy some properties for your employees to use. So why do you want to rent it out? Okay, it's not investments. And why should you need more than 50 years? 50 years is enough. Okay, so that's how it works. So that's why no foreigners in Vietnam will buy property under a company's name. They always buy under an individual name, right? And then if you are worrying about inheritance tax as an individual, well, the good news is there is no inheritance tax in Vietnam, all right? So this is something you can be assured of, okay? Now, let me just take a break. Okay, let's continue, right? Now, Binh Duong Ward in Ho Chi Minh City, okay? Now, this is before 1st of July of 2025. All the districts in Ho Chi Minh City has some numbers or some names, right? So District 1, 2, 4, just now the picture that I showed you was taken from District 2 overlooking District 1 and then Saigon River in front of us. I was telling you District 4 here, a triangle, and then District 7, which is Phu Minh Hong, Binh Tan District, where it's Landmark 81 is, and then of course District 2, right? And then 2 team is over here. So now today, after July 2025, things have changed. Basically, they have already merged 3 provinces. They have merged Ho Chi Minh City with Vung Tau and with Binh Duong. So all 3 combined, and now they are all called Ho Chi Minh City. So Ho Chi Minh City is much bigger now, more powerful, right? Now, with Ho Chi Minh City being so big, now they've changed the numbering as well. No more District 1, 2, 3, for example. Now they're all using the name of wards, right? And we are in Binh Duong Ward over here, okay? So it's very straightforward. And also this is, this whole change is also what gets me really excited about Saigon, right? Or Ho Chi Minh City, okay? If you look at what has happened in the last 5-10 years, a lot of the investments of the government has concentrated in Hanoi. That's why you have the new airport in Hanoi. You have, the roads are even much wider. You have nice highways, ring roads, a lot of infrastructure projects they put it in Hanoi. That's why property prices in Hanoi has gone crazy as well. Now, the next 10 years is all going to be in Ho Chi Minh City. the government has shifted the focus now to Saigon in Ho Chi Minh because it has been neglected for some time. So that's why now we should invest here. This is the next big growth, all right? Why? What's going on? I'll tell you more. A lot of things are coming here, okay? Now, our Binh Duong New City, it's about 70 minutes, it's just slightly more than an hour drive to Ho Chi Minh City city center. So we have about 3.4 million people living in this Binh Duong area, all right? So it's really, really close to Saigon. And they are one of the key contributor of the Vietnam economy, even higher than Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, okay? And then here, the GDP per capita is amazing. Saigon is, of course, number one. It's around 8,200 US dollar per capita, okay? Comparing to Hanoi as 7,008. Now, in terms of the FDIs, Binh Duong is ranked number 2 in the whole of Vietnam in terms of, FDIs, investments from foreigners, all right? Now, why people come here is because of the tax incentives. The Binh Duong government comes up with a 4 years tax exemption to get people to actually build their factories and come and do business here, all right? So there are lots of things happening here. VSIP, which stands for Vietnam Singapore Industrial Parks, is a joint venture between the Singapore government and the Vietnamese government. There are a total of 9 industrial parks and 3 of them are in Binh Duong, with VSIP 1 here, VSIP 2 and VSIP 3. Of course, 1 is already the most established. The second one is coming, is now already established, but a lot of companies are moving here. And 3 is for the future. Our project is here, closer to VSIP 2, all right? So this is all basically what Binh Duong is all about. Like I said, Silicon Valley, there are lots of companies, factories here. So we need accommodation for people working and living here, all right? So all these big firms are here. Let's see. Vinamilk is here. Procter & Gamble is in Binh Duong. Panasonic is here. This is like Budweiser, Corona, okay? They do all these beverages. Tetra Pak is here, the big company Giant Group, which is one of the largest bicycle company in the world from Taiwan. They actually have their factories in Binh Duong. Pandora, Lego, I told you about Lego, 1.3 billion US dollar of factories here as well. Now let's look at the infrastructure projects. So just now I was telling you about the shift of the focus from Hanoi to Saigon. So we start with the new international airport, which is going to be ready by end of this year. That's going to be Long Tan International Airport. The current airport is called Tan Son Nhat. It's closer to the city center. Long Tan is a bit further away, but of course they're building infrastructure to get people from the airport to the city center much quicker. But this airport is currently under construction, will be ready sometime end of the year. And what's really most amazing, of course, is the connectivity. We're going to have the Ring Road 3 and Ring Road 4 is coming. Ring Road 4 is going to bring us to the airport very quickly, and we are quite close to Ring Road 4 as well. So the Binh Duong New City is at a very strategic location, all right? Now, this airport is going to be huge. You guys, I'm sure you've been to Bangkok. You guys go to Thailand all the time. You know how amazing that Bangkok International Airport, Suvarnabhumi is, because there's so many tourists going to Bangkok. This Long Tan International Airport in Saigon, the new one, is going to be 2 times larger than Bangkok. Can you imagine that, right? So this is what's happening in Saigon, okay? Number 2 is the metro line, total of 27 lines. The first line already came in 2024. Yes, now you can take the metro. There are lots of lines coming. And in fact, for our project, there will be a total of 3 metro stations in the Binh Duong New City as well. They are not here yet. They are coming. Our project is here, Sycamore. The exact location of the collection is here. So we are very close to one of the station, all right? So when that MRT or that metro station comes in, that is going to increase property value. And the government is also talking about having an airport express, the train that connects the city center from Tu Tin all the way to Long Tan International Airport, okay? Now that finally brings us to the project, okay? Now Orchard Collection. Now let's talk a bit about the developer, okay? Now CapitaLand, of course, I'm sure you heard of them. They are very big from Singapore. Temasek owned Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, right? They've owned the Ascot brand, service apartments, Somerset as well. They built Jewel Changi Airport in Singapore, Iron Orchard, Raffles City. So they are 22 years of track record in Vietnam. They have projects all over Vietnam, from Ho Chi Minh City all the way up north to Hanoi, and they have done a great job, won a lot of awards. This is like the most trustworthy developer in the world today, and they are big in Vietnam, all right, with 32 years of track record and history. The very first project that we got involved with CapitaLand, back in 2016 was Phyllis and Vista. I can remember this very, very clearly because I was the first person to buy a unit in this project before I started bringing this to all our investors based in Asia. So, of course, I made very good returns out of it, and so as all our customers. This is in District 2 of Ho Chi Minh City. The Edge is another project in Thao Dien, which is in Saigon as well. This project was even most amazing. We actually planned for an event in Hong Kong in a big hotel ballroom, and we canceled the event because just about a week before the event, our clients that we brought to Vietnam to sign SPA, because you have to enter Vietnam to sign SPA for this previous project that we sold, that we showed them this project, they all ended up buying. So all the units were sold out before we even have a hotel event the next week. So we canceled the event, and then we have defined another big project of theirs in District 2, did very well as well. The last sold, we sold 220 units for CapitaLand over 2 launches. This is in District 4 of Ho Chi Minh City. Heritage Westlake, this is in Hanoi, next to the Westlake. This is a most iconic, a very high premium, high-end project. We did well. And this is basically, who we are. Our partnership with CapitaLand Vietnam has started, way long ago, 10 years ago, in 2016, when we did our very first project, with them called Phyllis and Vista. This is actually the previous CEO of CapitaLand Vietnam. So now the team is still there, very strong, and of course we have good relationships, and we try to secure these kind of good projects for our members and our clients, all right? Now, the project is called Sycamore, all right? The location is here in Binh Duong New City. Let's zoom in a bit. This whole area here is the Binh Duong New City. We are just right over here with 3 proposed metro stations coming up, all right? So this is exactly where we are. We have some lakes as well in front of us. So this project, basically, this whole new city area, Binh Duong New City, is not totally empty, all right? A lot have already been built. So these are some of the things you can see. We have international universities, we have World Trade Center Tower, we have the the tech hub. So all this is how it looks like today. All right, this photo is a bit old actually, to be honest. Now they're actually even much more buildings, right? So this is the I would say how amazing CapitaLand is. When I first invested in CapitaLand in that Phyllis and Vista project, honestly, that was in District 2. People were all talking about, why do you invest in District 2? This place is empty. It was empty, right? There's nothing there, okay? And then, but the price was cheap, right? So then, CapitaLand told me, so Kingston, this is who CapitaLand is. Wherever we go, we create value. Even if this place, there's nobody, nothing here, when we come in and transform this old area, everybody will come, all the other developers will come, all the companies will come, all investors will come, and before you know it, price will go up. For me, I was new to Vietnam back then in 2016, then I was like, okay, that makes sense, all right? I know CapitaLand is a big name. So I just went in because the price was cheap, all right? Then that story makes sense. And they were right. Today, District 2, oh my gosh, you go there, it's like a city in itself, okay? So they really did transform, and that's why the price gone crazy, right? Now, CapitaLand is saying the same thing once again with Binh Duong New City, okay? Now, this is the new Ho Chi Minh City. This is the Silicon Valley. CapitaLand is here. We are doing this. Everybody else will be here. Do you believe it? This is the page, all right? I would not believe that. I witnessed it. I've seen it many times over the last 10 years. So that's why I'm in. Okay. So this is really cool. Okay. Anyway, so this is what we already have today in Binh Duong New City. So this building here is very iconic. Okay. This is used to be the People's Community building for like the city hall. Okay, but now it has been changed. Now this is going to be as a tech IT hub. Okay, so a lot of tech firms are coming here. They needed more office space, so the government decided to basically give this nice building to all the big firms. All right, so they're all coming here. We're going to have a World Trade Center in the biggest roundabout inside the new city. So this is all coming. Hikari Complex, which is a very nice entertainment and F&B area, already completed. It is just 3 minutes drive from our project. We have Starbucks here, Sushi Ran, Robata, a Japanese restaurant, some coffee and tea. You know, there's just already a lot of tenants, all right? And then our project, Sycamore, just right across the street, we already have all these shops and restaurants. So it's very convenient for us. So it's just a 3 minutes walk, just walk across the street with all these. And we even have an Aeon supermarket and an Aeon mall here as well. So this is all just right in front of us, all right? So all these amenities, all these facilities, they already been built, all right? They are not even Uniqlo is here. These are all real images, by the way. These are not computer generated, all right? These are all real stuff. Now, the new city is also very close to VSIP2. So people work here, all right? So that's why, when they work here, all the senior management, all these guys, they need a place to stay. They are not going to go all the way to District 1. That's too far. That's an hour away. So people want to live here. There are schools, everything is very convenient, all right? So education, there's already 6 international schools. There's 1 universities. Even the Singapore International Schools is inside the new city. So there are more coming, all right? So this is a huge master plan. In fact, it's a joint venture between CapitaLand Development Vietnam and UOA from Malaysia, all right? So this is, of course, still kind of majority of CapitaLand, and so it's CapitaLand's team to drive this entire project, okay? This is an old image, by the way. This whole site, you see, is still empty, now already half built, all right? So now this is, I just want to share with you the whole Sycamore, what has happened over the last few years. Of course, this is not the very first launch. The first launch of this project a few years back was this called the Orchard, all right? This was launched in June of 2024. Today is 95% sold out. We still only have 5% balanced stocks, and these are villas, all right? The price, no, this is the event that they did, okay? So these villas are, this project already handed over, completed, all right, in August of 2025. So these are, how the villas looks like. So if you guys want to buy a landed property, this will be priced at around $700,000 US, all right? But for the villas, it will be bare shell. So inside, you're not going to have all these, like nicely renovated, because most villas in Vietnam are basically bare shell, right? So this is what you get. Anyway, this is a show villa, so you have an idea how you can renovate it, okay? And a lot of people who buy villas, they want to do their own renovation. That's why, if you are just an investor, you just buy it and sell it to somebody who will renovate by themselves, all right? Everybody have their own taste of what they want to do with it, okay? So anyway, this is the villa. We have some units available because of the foreign quota is only 10%, okay? So we can actually offer that to you as well. Orchard Hill is a high-rise apartment project that was launched in October of 2024, and today is 100% sold out. Total of 774 units, all right? So that is the sequence of, the project launches in Sycamore. Now, the third one is Orchard Height. Orchard Height is also a high-rise apartment launched in April of 2025, and it's all sold out as well, okay? And then after that, we have the last one here, which is Orchard Grand, launched in September of 2025 and 100% sold out, okay? And majority of the buyers are local Vietnamese. They are not even foreigners. So all the projects that I've just told you about, they are all like probably 95% of them are local Vietnamese, okay? Very little foreigners. Because why? Because, well, they didn't have to offer these to foreigners because the local market was so hot, okay? So, and we had difficulty because we are just not fast enough, all right? So that's why this time, we are fast, okay? We secure some unit so we can have an opportunity to offer our foreign clients, okay? Now, then they move on to Orchard Mansion, which was actually launched in just January of 2026. And today is 70% sold, okay? So this project is like big mansion, villa, landed property. If you guys want to buy, yes, you can choose some units. I see some remaining units here. They are 2 to 3 million US dollar, all right? So you can buy very nice villa overlooking the lakes, okay? So you can, do whatever you want because once again, for villas, it's bare shell, okay? So this is the Orchard Mansion that we still have some units you can buy and very limited foreign quota because it's just 10%, all right? This is how the show villa, the show mansion looks like, all right? So now, then moving on, final one. Okay, so this project, the last final phase is Orchard Mansion, which is also the most high end for this project. All right, so if you look at it, right, this is called the Orchard. These are all apartments, condos, right? The Orchard are cheaper houses, right? These villas are 700,000 US dollar, for example. The 2 to 3 million US dollar is called Orchard Mansion over here. So you can see on the left hand side are the more like premium ones. All right, so these ones here with 10-story apartment buildings, okay, these are all low-rise apartments, and on the ground floor they do not put retail, they put apartments with your own garage. All right, retail is all across here. You have some retail on the ground floor of these apartments, and we don't need retail because we just walk across the street. Aeon Mall is here, and here there are lots of retail shops as well. So a lot of the resident people who lives here, they do not want to have huge crowd on their lobby. That's why this project, the collection, Orchard Collection, do not have retail shops. All right, so and then we have a park, a central park, or what they call a welcome park, just right in front of you. So some of the units have really nice view of the park, and some with units facing the lake and the villas at the back. All right, so either way, of course, you have some units facing the internal, which is the swimming pool area, and you have 2 big swimming pool, all right, Olympic size, total of 168 facilities in this project. All right, so this is the park, which is just right in front of us. It's a huge park, a total of 4 hectares in front of us. All right, so it's a very nice project, a total of 1,025 units. And this project, they've already sold quite a lot to the local Vietnamese, and we are holding the stocks now for foreigners. All right, so that's why we have to move fast. Okay, now the completion will be estimated in Q1 2029, so it's going to be taking some time for the completion. All right, so let's take a look at some rendering of the project. This is the one of the entrance. All right, so we have every units have balcony. Okay, this is overlooking, you see a very nice welcome park. Okay, so lots of greeneries, lots of facilities, basketball court, tennis courts, badminton court, you name it, they have it. And look at the pool. We have basically 2 big swimming pools, and everybody in this whole Orchard collection, they can share the facilities. All right, so it's not like kind of like exclusive for anybody in any block. So you get actually a lot of facilities you can use here. Okay, so much things to do in this project. So this is some photos. Okay, later I have a very nice video I'll show you later, but anyway, just take a look at the photo. So this is how it looks like. It's pet friendly, of course. You can bring your pets here as well. So we have gym. Okay, and this is like the ground floor, right? The apartments, the condos where it's not so high end, the ground floor usually they put some shops, all right, like 7-Eleven or something, convenience store, laundry shop. But here it's different. They turn it into like a house. All right, so this guy here have their own garage for their cars. Okay, so this is actually quite expensive. All right, so this is a high end a project of this whole Sycamore. All right, this is the final release, okay, called the Orchard Collection. All right, so you look at it, this is the park just right in front of us. All right, so now this is the lobby. It's beautiful. All right, see all these imported materials from overseas. Okay, so I can trust CapitaLand quality, because I've seen a lot of their projects. They deliver even much nicer than the actual the actual units. Actual delivery is better than the CGIs. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. So this is some renderings to show you. You even have a 3D golf simulator here as well, kids playroom, right? So much things. Okay, you have like a theater room as well. For movie theater, you have like co-working space, like co-living, co-dining area as well. You have the jacuzzi, like a lot. You can have like your massage. Okay, they have spa. Okay, sauna. Everything is here. Okay, so many facilities. Okay, so now this is a sales gallery on the side. So with some photos to show you, it's a huge sales gallery. Okay, this is how it looks like. Now let's take a look. There's a huge scale model as well. Okay, and if you have a chance to visit Binh Duong, you can take a look. A 2-bedroom, 91 square meter. That's almost 1,000 square foot. All right, this is like already most of the units are starting from these kind of sizes. Okay, So it's very different than Thailand, where the unit sizes are much smaller. Here they actually work on bigger unit size, a 3-bedroom. So look at the balcony, it's huge. All right. So if you have an opportunity to visit Vietnam, let our team knows. We'll show you around. You'll be very impressed, okay, with this show unit. Anyway, these are the unit mix. We have 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedrooms. All right, and the rental is usually 1 year. So we'll help you. So we have our local team to do the leasing for you. Rental yield we expect around, let's say, 6% to be conservative. All right, and then our local team do everything, making sure that you basically do all the right steps, okay, and handle the property investment for you. There are different payment schemes. The one that I will highly recommend to you that actually gets you 9% discount as well is that where you just pay 5% now to the developer, and the 5% actually goes into escrow account where the developer cannot touch. All right. Here is CapitaLand, I mean, a Singapore government-owned developer, but yet they are still being so professional and to protect investors. 5% is in escrow, okay, and then another 5% is 1 year later, okay, and then you pay slowly every 6 months, 3 months, 5% until 30%, and then the balance, the 70. It's actually going to be paid in March 2029, okay, Q1, there's a handover, and then the final 5% is upon pink book, all right? Sorry, this is not 30, this is 25%. So you pay 25% during the construction period, and then 70 at handover, and then 5% at balance, okay? Now, this is what we're offering today, okay? Now, this is the buying cost. The total buying cost is just 0.5% of the purchase price, that's all. The annual cost is the maintenance fee, which is the 22,000 dong per square meter per month. So it works out to be 0.3% of the purchase price. So if you get a gross yield of 6, your net yield is 5.7, all right? Now the selling cost is just 2%. So it's 2% on the selling price. So there is no capital gain tax here. So whatever price that you sell at in the future, you just pay 2% on that. That's all, okay? So the cost here is actually one of the lowest in Southeast Asia, all right? Let's watch a video here so you get an idea of the project.
It's coming like a word upon the breeze, like a pulse that gently leads you home, or a light that shines. I'm floating softly down to the clouds, to the leaves on the ground, shimmering through your velvet dreams like a whisper that got lost, but now it's found. Softly down to the clouds, to the leaves on the ground, shimmering through your velvet dreams. It's like a whisper that got lost, but now it's found.
Now, one of the common questions we always get asked by our clients, my friends, right, is now, if I were to invest one unit in Vietnam, should I invest in Hanoi, the capital city, Ho Chi Minh City, or Binh Duong, right? Okay, so honestly, this is a very difficult question for us to answer you. I would not have the answer for you. It is like 20 years ago, you asked me the same question. Should I invest in Shanghai or Beijing? Well, who knows? But today we know because we know what is the result. So you have a guess, which is higher, Shanghai or Beijing? Which one did better, all right? Well, whatever the guess is, you are wrong because the one that did the best is Shenzhen. Not Shanghai, not Beijing, right? Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the Silicon Valley. That's where Huawei is. That's where all the innovation of AI is today in Shenzhen, right? So Shenzhen is the best performer. So it's the same thing. So I don't know whether Hanoi is going to do better or Ho Chi Minh City, or it could be Binh Duong because Binh Duong is the Shenzhen of Vietnam. It is the Silicon Valley. That's where all the tech firms are going there, right? So never know. So I think when the market goes up, the entire market will go up. It's just a matter of which one do better. But I think being the Shenzhen, being the Silicon Valley of Vietnam, it has good reasons for it to do better, okay? Just to wrap up my presentation, I'll give you 3 reasons why you should be doing these investments. Number 1 is Vietnam is the next China, but it's just 20 years behind, okay? Number 2, Binh Duong is the Shenzhen of Vietnam, the Silicon Valley of Vietnam. Number 3, the price per square foot today is very attractive. It's 1/3 the price of District 1. 2,400 Hong Kong dollar per square foot, right? That is how much? 300 US dollar per square foot. That's about it, okay? All right, so this is amazing, amazing price. So there is a lot of upside. Now, this is how China looks like in the 70s, all right? So people were so poor back then. Deng Xiaoping opens up the Chinese market in 78, inviting all the foreign companies, factories to come here. The whole factory revolution in the 90s in China, of course, created a lot of wealth. And this is what we are seeing in Vietnam today, is the exact same story repeated in Vietnam today, right? Now, during this whole transformation, have a guess how much price has gone up in China. This is in Shanghai, in Pudong. The price has gone up by 30 times, okay? 30 times, not 30%, yeah? 30 times. So the price is, 1 million back then is 30 million today. This is what has happened in Shanghai, okay? So now, this is crazy. So I think, it's only time will tell how much we will do in Vietnam today, right? And after all, real estate is the main investment asset class for most people in Vietnam, not the stock market. So most of the money will still go into real estates, right? So now let's not regret that, okay? Honestly, I invested a lot in Vietnam, and the reason I did it is very, honestly, I think about my kids, right? My kids are young, they're twins, they're babies, they're now just 23 months old, right? I do not want to be when they're 20 years old or 22 years old, 20 years later, and come and tell me that, you were doing this Zoom, whatever, on YouTube channel, you were telling everybody, 300 US dollar per square foot. Why did you not buy a couple of units for me? So I don't have to work, all right? So, I don't want to have that kind of, discussion with my kids, all right? So I would just buy some units and just leave it there, okay? It is so cheap. I'm just going to leave it there. And one day it's going to go crazy. This is what I hope for, right? Anyway, so this is the, the project, okay, Orchard Collection. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Anyway, I think the Vietnam story, it's amazing, okay? There's so many things going on here, the infrastructure projects that I told you about, the shifting the focus from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City. These are all the good reasons why we should invest here, okay? If you guys are interested to find out more, you have any questions, or would like to get a copy of that presentation, let us know. Drop us a message, okay? We'll come back to you, and hope you become an investor, and I'm sure you do very well here. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.